Conspiracy Fact Daily, March 13th. Long story short, YouTube and Conspiracy Fact Daily are not getting along. They're not playing nice. But before I was cut off on the last broadcast, I want to finish up with that. I was talking about the terrorist that the Obama administration had assassinated, an American citizen. And Ron Paul has talked a lot about this, Napolitano, typical liberty folks. And a lot of people kind of just don't listen because they hear the word terrorist. Like, well, he was a terrorist. I mean, sometimes you gotta do the hard thing. You gotta make the tough call. So, without even getting into that argument, how can you legitimize and defend the fact that we killed his 16-year-old son? Now that is a huge story, and we know why it's not being covered, but it should be a story at all the bars. It should be stories at the dinner table. It should be stories at church functions. It should be on the pastor's list of what to talk about in their sermons. But nobody's talking about it. One, because I don't think people know it happened. If they saw it, they just kind of brushed over it. We have this very relaxed idea about casualties when it comes to war. It's like, well, that's just one of the cons of war is, innocent people get hurt because of how dirty the other guys play. You have this mental picture of, say, our enemies in the Middle East, and we picture them taking their babies and their children and surrounding their bases with them, using them as shields. Now, regardless of the truth and validity in that, the fact is the United States, the good guys, targeted somebody, an American citizen, because he was a quote-unquote terrorist, but they were going to assassinate him and took out his 16-year-old son in the process. Is that just like a major goof? I mean, does that come in front of the court, the military court, and like, is the guy just like, oh man, it was a goof? And they're like, oh, it was a goof. I didn't know it was just a goof. This is not an issue that we should be having in the United States. And with everything going on with the NDAA, with the Patriot Act, with just the blatant disregard of the Constitution, I mean, where is this going? Please share this with people. And this brings me to the next point that I wanted to talk about. And a lot of guys talk about how there's an info war on. Like Alex Jones, there's an info war, and I agree with that. There is an info war, but here at Conspiracy Fact Daily, I am pro-war. I am not anti-war when it comes to our enemy. I am pro-war. I'm not saying a violent war, but I am ready to take on the info war, let's call it, with our enemy. Now, I'm not at all advocating violence. Obviously, not doing that. But the question is, at what point do we stop? At what point do we fight for what is correct and at what point do we fight for our liberty? We have this enemy that's just, yes, it's destroying the Constitution, but it's also killing innocent people all around the world. And it's killing American citizens by shipping them off into these pointless wars that have nothing to do with protecting our nation. That's what an army is for. It's to protect the United States of America. We don't use it for that. We use it to perpetuate and build the New World Order. So at what point do we say enough is enough? You look at a lady like Cindy Sheehan. Now, she's been around for quite a while, and I used to despise her. I mean, years ago, I just thought she was awful. but obviously I woke up. But I have to admire her. She's not my favorite person in the world to listen to, but I have to admire her because she's had enough. She's not paying her taxes anymore to fuel the wars or to pay off the debt on the wars. And at what point do all of us make that decision? You know, when they destroy the dollar, they're going to start rounding people up. They're going to start putting them in these FEMA camps. We're going to see Occupy Wall Street times 10. But are enough people going to be informed and engaged? Are enough people going to stand up to the evil, to the enemy, the real enemy, not the Muslims? Alright, well, let's continue this on the other side, and we'll get into some news, some really crazy news that's going to protect the enemy even more.